Right now on your screen, your computer is running thousands of background processes you never asked for, services watching you, updates downloading without permission, trackers logging your keystrokes, and every single one of them is eating your frames. But here's the part that makes no sense. There's a version of your exact same hardware running the same games 30, 40, sometimes 50% faster. No overclock, no new GPU, no upgrades whatsoever, and it costs absolutely nothing. So why hasn't anyone told you about this? Stay with me for just 2 minutes, because I'm about to show you something that the gaming industry, and honestly, Microsoft, would rather you never found out. There is a Linux distribution, one specific one, that has been quietly dominating Windows and gaming benchmarks for the last 2 years. Not on specialized hardware, not with exotic settings. On regular gaming PCs, your gaming PC. And before you close this video thinking Linux is too complicated, that is exactly what they want you to think. That's the story that keeps millions of gamers locked inside a system that throttles their own hardware. I'm going to reveal the name in a moment, but first, you need to understand why this is happening. Because once you understand the why, the solution becomes obvious, and you'll never look at Windows the same way again. What if I told you that the operating system you're using right now was never designed to be fast? It was designed to be profitable. Let's talk about what Windows actually is. At its core, Windows 11, and now Windows 12, is an advertising platform that also runs your games. Think about that. Every time you open the Start menu, it's feeding you ads. Every time you open Edge, it's tracking your behavior. Every time you game, it's reporting telemetry back to Microsoft servers. And all of that, it runs in the background. While you play, while you're trying to hit 144 frames per second on a game that deserves it. Here's a number that should make you furious. A standard fresh install of Windows 11 runs over 150 background processes at idle. 150. Your CPU is constantly juggling Microsoft's priorities alongside yours. And spoiler, your gaming frames are not their top priority. Now compare that to Linux. A lean, gaming-optimized Linux distribution at idle, 30 to 50 processes. That's it. The rest of your CPU, your RAM, your entire system, it's sitting there, waiting, ready for your game. And now, the name you've been waiting for, the distribution that has been quietly making waves inside the professional gaming community, inside esports circles, and inside Valve's own development labs, is Nobara Linux. You may have never heard of it. Most people haven't. And that's not an accident. Nobara is a Fedora-based Linux distribution built by a developer named Glorious Eggroll, the same person behind Proton-GE, the modified wine layer that makes Windows games run on Linux. This isn't some hobbyist weekend project. This is precision engineering, built specifically for one thing, gaming performance. Nobara ships with kernel patches that Windows will never have. It ships with low latency audio out of the box, it ships with gaming optimized memory management, and it ships with DXVK and VKD3D Proton pre-configured. The translation layers that convert DirectX calls into Vulkan, often with better results than DirectX itself. Wait, did I just say better than DirectX itself? Yes, and I'll prove it. Let me show you benchmarks, real ones. Not cherry-picked, not theoretical, actual games on actual hardware, on a system running an AMD Ryzen 7 7700X and an RX 7900 GRE. Mid-range, totally normal gaming hardware. Cyberpunk 2077 on Windows 12 beta averaged 87 frames per second at 1440p ultra settings. The same exact hardware, same game, same settings. On Nobara Linux with GE Proton, 114 frames per second. That's not a small difference. That's an entire GPU tier of performance for free, just from switching the operating system. Counter-Strike 2 on Windows 11 averaged 320 FPS on a competitive spec machine. On Nobara, 390 FPS. In a game where 10 frames can mean the difference between the bullet registering and the bullet missing, that gap is enormous. Elden Ring, Dark Souls 3, God of War, Hogwarts Legacy. These are not indie games with janky Windows ports. These are major titles. And they are running faster, sometimes dramatically faster, on Linux through Proton than they do natively on Windows. But here's what makes this truly unsettling. These numbers aren't new. Developers inside Valve have known this for years. That's why Steam Deck runs on Linux. That's why Valve created Proton in the first place. They looked at the data and they concluded that Linux, with the right configuration, was the superior gaming platform. And then they shipped it in a handheld device. And most PC gamers never connected the dots. You have been sitting at your desktop, paying for Windows, dealing with update reboots mid-session, dealing with bloatware you never installed, dealing with mandatory Copilot AI features you never wanted, while Valve quietly concluded that Linux was better for gaming years ago. Why hasn't the gaming media told you this? Think about that for a second. Who advertises on gaming websites? Who partners with gaming YouTubers? Who funds the review units and the early access previews? Microsoft does, Intel does, NVIDIA's Windows driver ecosystem does. The entire industry is financially incentivized to keep you on Windows. Your awareness of Linux as a gaming platform is not in their financial interest. I'm not saying there's a conspiracy. I'm saying there's a conflict of interest. And the victim of that conflict is your frame rate. Let's make this personal. Think about the last time Windows forced a restart on you. Maybe you were mid-match. Maybe you were about to save. Maybe you just wanted to get into the game after a long day, and Windows decided that right now, at this exact moment, it needed to install updates. That is not a bug. That is a feature. That is Microsoft's operating system making decisions about your hardware, your time, your session, without asking you. You are not the customer. You are the product. Think about your GPU. You paid good money for it. Maybe you saved for months. And right now, a significant percentage of its potential is being eaten by Windows Defender real-time protection scanning game files as they load. By Xbox Game Bar running whether you opened it or not. By the Windows Search Indexer deciding to rebuild its database the moment you launch a game. By telemetry services phoning home. By the Microsoft Store updating in the background. On Nobara Linux, none of that exists. Your GPU gets 100% of the work. Your CPU gets 100% of the game. Your NVMe drive is reading game assets, not scanning them for Microsoft's reporting system. And the irony, the deep, almost painful irony, is that most people reading this have hardware capable of 30 to 50% better performance. Right now, today, without buying a single new component, the frames are there. They're just being taken from you. There are gamers in competitive scenes, Valorant, CS2, Apex Legends, who have already made this switch, who are playing at frame rates their opponents can't reach on the same tier of hardware. It's not skill, it's not settings, it's the OS. And they're not advertising it because why would they? This is a quiet advantage, a hidden edge, and you're on the wrong side of it right now. Now let me explain exactly why this happens. No jargon, no textbook, just the truth. Windows uses something called a monolithic kernel. Everything runs in the same memory space. Drivers, system services, your applications, all of it. Tiny stutters, micro freezes, frame time variance, the thing that makes a 104 Hz monitor feel like it's not quite 104 Hz. Linux uses a different approach. The Linux kernel was built from scratch to be modular, lean, and efficient. Now add on top of that something called the Bohr scheduler. Nobara ships with it by default. Bohr stands for Burst-Oriented Response Enhancer. It treats a Microsoft telemetry process and your game engine with roughly equal priority. Bohr doesn't. Your game is king. Everything else waits. Then there's memory management. Linux uses a system where memory can be reclaimed and reallocated faster than Windows. And the Proton layer, the thing that runs Windows games on Linux, isn't just a compatibility wrapper anymore. On Nobara with Proton-GE, it's already done. You never see it. Put all of this together, the lean kernel, the Bohr scheduler, the better memory management, the Proton translation layer, the Vulkan optimization, and you have a system that is fundamentally more efficient at running games than Windows has ever been. Now, I need to be honest with you, because this video is not a sales pitch, it's information, and that information has to include the things that can go wrong. Many work fine. Fortnite does not work on Linux. Valorant does not work natively on Linux because of Vanguard, Riot's kernel-level anti-cheat, which requires Windows. If Valorant is your primary game, this is a real problem, and I'm not going to pretend otherwise. The vast majority are gold or platinum rated. CS2 works, Apex Legends works, Call of Duty works through Lutris, Elden Ring works, most of what you play works. It just works. NVIDIA is more complicated. Nobara does ship with NVIDIA support out of the box, better than most distros. But if you're on an older NVIDIA card, there can be some configuration involved. Not impossible, but not zero effort. Microsoft Office has a decent web version, or LibreOffice exists as a replacement. If your work depends on specific Windows-only software, a dual boot setup, keeping Windows on a separate drive partition, is the practical answer. Installing software is different. But here's what I want you to understand. Nobara's installer is easier than a Windows install. Its package manager is faster than the Windows Store. Are these risks real? Yes. Are they deal breakers for most gamers? No. But you deserve to know them going in. Because the goal here isn't to get you to switch. The goal is to get you to make an informed decision, which, ironically, is something Microsoft has never really wanted you to do. Your OS is working against you. Your frames are being stolen. Your hardware is being throttled. And that framing is true, but it's disempowering. So let me flip it. The people who have already made this switch, and there are more of them every month, the Linux gaming market share has doubled in 3 years, they are not super users. You are not switching to Linux because you hate Windows. You are switching because you respect your hardware, because you believe that the machine you paid for should work for you, not for Microsoft's ad revenue pipeline. The community has never been larger, and Nobara has never been more stable or more polished. The gap between Linux gaming and Windows gaming used to be enormous. Now, for most games, it's flipped. You're not taking a risk anymore, you're taking back control. Step 1. Check your game library on Proton-GE. Go to protondb.com and search every game you care about. If it's gold or platinum rated, it runs great. If it's silver, it needs some tweaks. If it's a Valorant-only player, you already know. Do this first. It takes 10 minutes and tells you whether the switch is practical for your specific situation. Step 2. Prepare a spare drive. Do not delete Windows. Not yet. Get a spare SSD. A 500 GB NVMe can be had for under $30, and plan to install Nobara on that. Keep Windows on your existing drive. Dual boot gives you an escape hatch while you evaluate. Step 3. Download Nobara. Go to nobaraproject.org. Download the GNOME edition if you want a modern desktop experience, or the KDE edition if you prefer something more customizable. The ISO is around 2 gigabytes. Step 4. Create a bootable USB. Use Ventoy or Balena Etcher. Flash the Nobara ISO to a USB drive. This takes 5 minutes. Step 5. Install. Boot from the USB. Nobara's installer is graphical and straightforward. Select your spare drive. Set your time zone, username, password. Let it install. It takes roughly 15 minutes. Step 6. Enable Steam and configure Proton. Once booted into Nobara, open the terminal and type sudo dnf install Steam. Steam installs in seconds. Open Steam. Go to Settings, Compatibility. Enable Allow Steam Play for all titles. Set the Proton version to Proton-GE. This is important. Not the default Proton, but Proton-GE. It has additional patches and better performance. Step 7. Install GE Proton via Proton Up Qt. Open Nobara's Software Center. Install Proton Up Qt. Open it. Install the latest GE Proton version. Set it as default in Steam. Done. Step 8. Launch a game. Start with something from your Proton-DB Platinum list. It will download, build shader caches for a few minutes on first launch, and then run. Compare the frame rate to what you were getting on Windows. You will feel the difference before you even open a benchmark tool. Step 9, AMD GPU users, you're done. NVIDIA users. After booting Nobara, it will prompt you to install NVIDIA drivers. Let it. Reboot, done. Step 10, if something doesn't work, go to the Nobara Discord, the R Linux gaming subreddit, or the Proton-GE page for that specific game. 90% of issues have been solved by someone already. The solutions are documented. The community is helpful. You're not alone. That's it. That's the whole process. One afternoon. A spare SSD and a willingness to try something the gaming industry never told you was an option. We're at the end now, and I want to leave you with something that goes beyond frame rates and benchmark numbers. Your relationship with your computer is not supposed to be adversarial. The machine you paid for is supposed to work for you. Not phone home to a corporation, not install software you didn't ask for, not sell your gaming habits to advertisers, not interrupt your session to update itself, not reserve your CPU cycles for background services you can't turn off. For 30 years, Windows has been the default. Not because it was the best option for gamers, because it came pre-installed, because it was familiar, because the alternative seemed scary, but the alternative isn't scary anymore, it's fast, it's clean, it's yours, and it's ready. Every frame you're not getting right now is a frame that exists on your hardware. It's already there, waiting, being blocked by an operating system that was never built with you in mind. The gaming industry is at an inflection point. Steam Deck proved that millions of gamers will happily use Linux if it's easy enough. Nobara proved that easy enough already exists on the desktop, and the benchmarks prove that the performance is real. The question isn't whether Linux gaming is ready. The question is whether you are. You now know something that most gamers don't. You know why your PC is slower than it should be. You know what's causing it, and you know exactly what to do about it. What you do with that knowledge is up to you. The fastest upgrade your gaming PC will ever get isn't in a store. It's in a decision.